This is The Wheel Weaves, a Wheel of Time podcast with no spoilers. Welcome, listeners. I'm your host, Dani, and I'm the first-time reader who's going through this 15-book series chapter by chapter. As always, there's no spoilers past the chapter we are covering, and that means it's totally safe for first-time readers. I'm joined by my co-host, Brett, who's a longtime fan of the series, and he's acting as my tour guide on this journey.
Before we get into things today, we just want to thank and welcome Leon and Johannes Schneider to the Wheel Weaves Patreon team. Thank you so much for your generosity, and we're really excited to have your support.
We want to acknowledge our executive producers, Brandy and Aaron Kirkwood. Okay, so in this episode, we are so excited to introduce our first guest.
Yeah.
Since The Eye of the World?
I think so. I don't think we got any guests.
I don't think we did a guest for The Great Hunt.
It was just like a blur and it just kind of ended.
Well, I'm so excited to be here. I mean, 2020 has been a bit strange so far, but I'm really happy to be here and really excited to talk about these chapters.
Yeah. Welcome, Spencer.
Spencer's back.
Also, in this episode, we are talking about chapters 23 and 24 of The Dragon Reborn.
Yeah, so we got chapter 23 sealed and chapter 24, which I have to say is my favorite chapter in this entire book. And I know a lot of people are with me on this one. And I know that you're maybe a little bit disappointed about this one, Dani. I maybe hyped it up way too much.
Hyped it up a lot.
But it's the best scene in the entire book. It's so great.
I gotta admit, it is a good scene.
Yeah.
It just didn't do much plot-wise for me.
Yeah, but I mean, okay, so here's my thing about this is like my favorite scene in The Eye of the World was the prologue, and then the favorite scene in The Great Hunt was the Flicker chapter, and then this one is the Mat versus Gawain and Galad fight, and they're all very different kinds of chapters, and I don't know what to like kind of, I should just stop like hyping stuff up.
That's probably
I think that's what I have to do. So I'm not going to tell you beforehand anymore.
Okay, and Spencer, just for the folks at home, do you want to reintroduce yourself in case people have just started listening and missed you in The Eye of the World?
Sure. So I'm Spencer. I go way back with both Dani and Brett. I guess we went to high school together. I'm a longtime fan of the series. I'm currently on my third read-through. I started again when Dani and Brett started their podcast and have since outpaced them quite rapidly. This is
just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Dani says it's not a great way to read a book. Weird. But yeah, so that's a little bit about me.
Awesome.
Cool. Well, we're happy to have you.
Yeah, and I didn't say the chapter title. Chapter 24 is Scouting and Discoveries.
But chapter 23 is sealed.
Yes.
You missed that too.
No, I said that one.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
See, there you go. Not listening. Okay.
I'm distracted. Spencer's here. It's a lot going on. But this is going to be a lot of fun. So I'm excited.
We have tons to talk about, tons of speculation. We learn new stuff.
Yes, lots of learning.
And now, before I forget, because I almost just did, you got some information for us that might be fun?
I do. I have a really, really good fun fact, and this one is pretty well known in the Wheel of Time community. I'm pretty sure. It might be new for you. I don't know how much you know about stuff, but we're going to dive into this one. And this is about the little hint we got in chapter 24 after the big fight sequence. Hammer...
Oh, the name of the warder?
Yeah.
Okay.
He references the greatest blade master who ever lived, who was named Jerome. Yeah. And apparently during his life, he fought over 10,000 times in battle and single combat, and he was defeated once by a farmer with a quarterstaff. So in the Wheel of Time community, it's pretty well viewed that this character, Jerome, is based on a real life character, and it's a Japanese swordsman named Miyamoto Musashi, one of the most celebrated swordsmen in Japanese history, and around 1600, he supposedly fought 61 duels in his life and never lost except once to a samurai named Muso Gonosuke Katsuyoshi.
Whoa.
Yeah, so who created a specially designed staff specifically to beat the legendary Musashi.
Ooh.
Yeah, so there's a couple big things about that because I dove a little bit into the history about all this.
That's
and there's
definitely given me some Kill Bill vibes.
It does, and it's really cool because there's some really good information about these guys, and I gotta bring it up here because I never knew any of this before.
Sword person, Brett. They can be women too. Kill Bill.
Hello.
Yeah, no, these two guys were definitely dudes.
Yeah, but you keep saying swordsmen.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were one of the greatest swordsmen.
But swords people. Anyone could be great.
That has nothing to do with these two Japanese swordsmen.
But we should be comparing them to all people, not just all other men.
Okay, so Musashi was a swordsman and a strategist and a writer, and he became renowned through the stories for his unique fighting style, where he used two swords to fight. And it's kind of a nice take because the two swords versus the quarterstaff in the chapter is the Gawain and Galad versus the one staff. But he also, at the end of his life, wrote two books, one called The Book of Five Rings and the other The Path of Aloneness. And the cool thing about the Book of Five Rings, it discusses martial arts in general, but the 5 books he talk about the different elements in battle, just like there are in life. And he has the Book of Earth, the Book of Water, the Book of Fire, the Book of Wind, and the Book of Void, the Book of the Void. And it's kind of a nice take on the elements that we see in the Wheel of Time too.
Cool.
Yeah. Now, the cool part about this contested information about Musashi, if he actually lost a battle, or even if there was a battle that he lost, was that Gonosuke apparently had 2 duels with Musashi. The first one, Gonosuke encountered Musashi and challenged him, and then Musashi beat him in like 1 blow, so very quickly. And then Gonosuke went into seclusion, had a vision in a dream, and then created a staff deliberately longer to actually use and beat specifically Musashi. And then in the second battle, Gonosuke beat Musashi. Now, the funny part is that Musashi established a sword fighting school who maintains that he was actually undefeated and that this fight never happened.
So he's a liar.
And then Gonosuke established a stick fighting school who says that he actually did beat the legendary Musashi.
Oh man, what drama.
Yeah, a lot of drama heating up in the swords versus staff world.
But how do we know what the truth is? How do we know who do we believe? How do we know the fight happened?
That's a good question. We don't know.
Welcome to history, Spencer.
There we go.
History 101 with Brett. We never know if anything is actually accurate.
It's all contested. It's always contested.
Okay.
Hey, can we talk about Wheel of Time now?
Yeah, but that's like super relevant. Anyways, okay.
Yeah, it is. It's good. That's excellent. Good fact finding.
Yes.
You're an excellent Brown.
I have some stuff on why he was actually named Jerome too in the book, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah,
maybe
please,
another episode.
Please, yeah, not now. Okay, so chapter 23 is called Sealed, and we have the Wheel and Infinity Snake picture. So last time, Egwene found out about a secret stolen terangrial to help her with her whole dream world stuff. And then she completed her testing, but everything pretty much went to shit, and we aren't really sure what happened there. And we hope that she's going to be okay. And that's where we get into this chapter.
Yeah.
And then with Matt last time, he was healed, and he wants to get the F out of Tarvalin as soon as possible, but he's pretty weak still, and the Amerlin doesn't want him going anywhere. So I don't think there's a way for him to get out.
Yeah, and
Quite
from
honestly.
these chapters, it doesn't seem like there really is.
So we enter with Egwene being like ripped apart by the arch, and then she steps out into the room super pissed off.
Yeah. So I know we had talked last time that you didn't think there was going to be any like residual effect.
Like physical.
Yeah, physical. Like probably emotional for her for sure. But
yes.
There doesn't seem to be anything like drastically different about her leaving, even though she was like ripped apart.
No.
So
She seems fine.
Yeah, that's good.
So she's super pissed off. She comes out and she's like, is that all there is for me to abandon him again and again? And that's how I sort of felt. Like every time she went in, it was all about Rand. Yeah, every time. And I was like, all right. You're not scared of anything else, really?
Nope.
So.
And I feel like, too, I mean, we learned that Egwene and Rand were not going to be together long term, like fairly early on in book 1. Like I get it, they're close, they have this connection, but like I'm getting a bit over the Egwene and Rand. I think I'm always over it, but I mean,
like immediately as soon as they leave the 2 rivers, you're like, yeah, they're not going to work out.
Right.
Yeah,
let's stop with this. Yeah,
like as soon as we're in Baerlon and Min says you're not meant for each other, it's like, all right, guys.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Let's move past this a little bit. She cares for him, and she really wants to like save him from himself, though.
Well, and I feel like too. I mean, like you were mentioning on the last episode, like Egwene's been through so much even since she's left Rand, like with the Shan-Chen, and like I feel like there are other major things going on in her life that maybe should have come up.
Yeah, and I feel like they sort of a little bit did with the whole kidnapping thing that happened to her.
Yeah,
but. Other than that, I don't know. So she comes out, she's yelling about how she abandons Rand, and then she realizes that, like, things aren't exactly as they should be. Like, the Amyrlin is there, but she's standing there staring at Egwene worriedly, and there are 2 Aes Sedai now at each arch, and the ter'angreal isn't doing so good.
Yeah, it's working overtime.
Yeah.
Vibrating colors.
Yeah.
Yeah, things
It's
are definitely worse than when Nynaeve came out, too, because when Nynaeve came out of her test, there's like, it was different because the Amyrlin was there and whatever, but this is clearly not a good situation.
And you think, too, it's got to be something big to worry the Amyrlin, right? She's seen some stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So Sheriam checks Egwene's forehead, like with the power, and says Egwene is unharmed and seems like super relieved. And Egwene asks, what happened?
Yeah.
But that's not for now.
Well, it's kind of good,
because they have to conclude their ceremony right now.
Yeah, it's like there's a time and place for a tradition, and I feel like you could hang on a second. But I did note that Elaida does also seem to be relieved when Egwene comes out.
Oh.
Like, she lets out a long breath and then, like, hurries away afterwards.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like humanizes her a little bit here to us, because it's like, even though she clearly hates Egwene.
Oh, yeah, and we get that.
We get
like a
man.
Yeah.
There's still, like, some sort of, like, semblance of maybe caring
about people.
That she's not dead.
Well, especially because if Egwene was dead in there, it was Elaida who was like, whatever, send her in anyway. Like, it would have been all on her. Like,
it would have, it would have been on her at some point. So.
And I think despite her little red versus blue fight about the girls, I mean, this, losing Egwene would be a big loss to the tower, right? Like, she's strong.
Yeah, to the tower as a whole. Yeah.
That's fair. Okay, so it's time to conclude this ceremony and seal Egwene as an accepted. She, gets the water on her and gets her ring and all this stuff.
Yeah, same stuff we saw before.
Yeah, and so Swan is very concerned and double checks that Egwene is okay. And then she says that she means to know what went wrong here tonight.
Yeah, did you notice we got a new word?
No.
Delve. Yeah, Sheriam says, I'm certain, Mother, like, she's certain that Egwene's fine.
Delve.
Yeah, you saw me delve her. So, like, we have a word for what the Aes Sedai have done a bunch of times to a bunch of different people, which is, like, delving in to see if they're okay.
They're, like, to see if their soul is intact.
Yeah, so that's probably, like, what Moraine's done a couple times, too, we've seen, so.
Yeah, okay. And Varen with that Ogier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want you to know that, because then I can, like, start using that term for our conversation.
Thanks for bringing that up. Okay, so Egwene gets dried and dressed in her new fancy accepted dress, and then Elaida comes over to hand her like novice clothes and her purse with the stolen ter'angreal and her papers containing information of all the Black Ajah.
Yeah.
That's who you want giving it to you, Elaida, because she really...
Yeah. And Egwene worries about Elaida having seen what was on the paper, and then she sort of checks that the ring is still in her pouch.
Yeah.
Which it is.
Prediction time, though.
Uh-huh.
Did Elaida snoop?
No.
Okay.
That was easy.
I don't know. Well, I don't think...
a room full of all Aes Sedai. It would be kind of...
Yeah. I don't think there's opportunity.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just, like, it's a hot take for Egwene to be like, oh, did she snoop? And then she's like, oh, did Sheriam snoop?
Egwene is the most suspicious person in literally the world right now.
That's why we got to clarify for your thoughts. Like, so no snooping.
No.
Didn't happen.
Yeah, and she just came out of the ter'angreal thinking 13, so she's extra on edge.
Oh, yes. And, like, she literally just had an entire experience where Elaida was a bad guy.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
I mean, like, do you ever wake up from a dream and, like, you're mad at somebody because of what they did in a dream?
Are you talking about you to me? Yeah.
Yeah. But, like, imagine her coming out and then, like, seeing Elaida, who, like, literally just fucked her over and tried to kill her.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
That'd be tough.
So, yeah, that'd be bad. So Elaida tells her that she didn't want her being brought forward tonight because she is a wilder. And I went, wow, prejudice.
Yeah, very.
Like, we already got that between, like, the accepted girls.
Okay, I just, I hate to do this to my own self, but I feel like I have a Harry Potter reference that just came to me. But it kind of... I'm upset.
Oh, like Muggleborns.
Mudblood, yes, exactly.
Oh, okay.
Great reference, Spencer.
I'm on board for that.
Yeah.
Just go in detail a little bit more. Give us a reference.
Oh, sorry. So in Harry Potter, mostly that Slytherin house, they're terribly prejudiced about
the racists.
They're racist essentially because there's families that have had wizards in their family for generations and generations. But there are some wizards that are born to people who are non-magical, who we call muggles. And so those people have the same magical ability, but the people from the families with lots of wizards look down on those people and call them mudbloods, which is kind of like
mudblood. And that's essentially where the war from like the 5th book on stems from, is trying to get rid of all these mudbloods.
Okay, yeah, that's terrible. Okay, yeah, no, the whole Wilder definitely kind of seems the same. It's not exactly.
It's not exactly, but there's definitely a prejudice.
It's close enough.
Okay, you guys better run and get your shots then.
Okay.
Go on.
You're gonna give me like a weird, like a lime juice or something. I want to experience a terrible shot. Not Tabasco. Nope. Alrighty. It's just lime juice?
It's just lime juice.
Are you serious? This whole thing?
You asked for that.
Okay. And Spencer, you are shooting Kahlua, you said, and do you have a fancy shot glass?
I do, but see, I'm at my dad's bar because I'm staying here right now, and so it's from the Dominican Republic. I don't know who went there or whose shot glass this is, but someone did.
Good story.
You know, I gotta say, it's an attractive shot glass,
It's
and I
pretty,
know,
right?
I know shot glasses.
Yeah.
Brett just got me one from Peru,
Nice.
and I had a friend go to Peru and bring this for me.
Yeah, I brought it because it says Cusco on the side, and we just watched The Emperor's New Groove.
Oh,
Oh.
you said K.O. Cusco.
That's a great movie.
Okay, and you have?
I have the fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada.
Excellent. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Ugh, that was really gross.
Yeah.
The clue.
There. Give the fans what they want, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Very astute Harry Potter reference, Spencer.
You're welcome.
Okay, so then my thought was, is Egwene really a Wilder? Like, she didn't teach herself how to use the power outside of...
Yeah, well, Elida kind of explains that because, like, Nynaeve is totally a Wilder.
100%.
She didn't die on her own, basically.
Yeah.
But with Egwene, Elida's like, yeah, I know you got taught by an Aes Sedai, so technically
but you're a Wilder at heart.
Yeah, in like
and that's
spirits.
almost worse.
Yeah.
What does that even mean? You're a Wilder at heart.
Yeah.
I kind of like interpret it as like you want to learn for yourself and figure it out on your own.
Yeah.
Like clearly novices and accepted are super guided down a path of this is what you have to learn. And
Well,
Egwene is not that.
Well, and Elida, I have to tell you, if Egwene is a Wilder, then what does that make Elaine?
Yeah, no, but it's different because she taught and she's like found Elaine. So different.
Nope. It is not.
It's different, but it's different to her, okay?
It is just bullshit that Elida even feels that she can say these things to Egwene in front of Sheriam.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
what?
speaking of which,
ridiculous.
yeah.
It's rude.
Like I do respect Sheriam for like not stepping in though.
A little bit. But anyways, I also want to point out how Elida says it would have been better for you to just go back to your shitty little village.
Yeah.
Like,
It's a whole new level.
yeah. But then she turns and leaves.
Yeah.
And then Egwene says to Sheriam, like, you could have said something for me. And Sheriam's like, well, you're an accepted now. Stand up for yourself.
Yeah, that's why I said I respect it. It's like Sheriam's like, you gotta learn how to stand up now. Like, you're at the adult table.
Yep.
But I think it's interesting that Sheriam, so when Egwene first comes out of the Terangrial, she's referred to as daughter.
Child.
And then Sheriam,
Yeah.
after this little episode, again,
Back to child.
I'm like,
Yeah.
maybe that was Elida's goal, to have everyone think less of her again, you know?
Yeah, never mind.
Yeah, that does seem to be her motive. All right, so Egwene asked Sheriam what did happen here tonight, and Sheriam says that like she doesn't know, and she fears that Egwene almost died. And then cue Alana showing up, feeling like shit,
Yeah.
saying that reverb showed up again, like 10 million times worse and stronger, and she wants Egwene to forgive her because when she sensed something was wrong, she should have never let Egwene go in there. Yeah, I know.
Well, it's also
That's
kind of
what
like
I said.
Elida's bullying her, being like, "Oh, you shouldn't say anything."
Yeah.
So it's Elida's fault.
And do we know who like is stronger in the power between Alanna and Elida? No.
Not right now.
Right.
Ooh.
We might learn about that in the future.
Maybe. Anyway, it sounds like Elida's just a bitch and just like bosses everyone around. It's more of a personality thing than like a strength in the power thing.
Yeah. It does seem that way.
I think, but so she wants to make it up to Egwene by doing some of her punishments in the kitchens and with Sheriam. And Alanna says that the only other time that she's heard of anything like this happening was years ago when they tried to use 2 ter'angreal in the same room that were related, which is super rare to find, by the way, guys.
Yeah.
And both of them melted, and every sister near them had a headache for a week and couldn't channel at all.
So I think we figured it out, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
There it is.
I was listening to your last episode and I was thinking, wow, she is spot on.
Yeah, I mean, you did totally like.
I did. Well,
you got
it was
right.
The only thing it could be.
It's pretty obvious.
It's pretty obvious.
It's like
that's like literally exactly what's happening.
Yeah. It's not really like a hidden thing, but it's hidden from everybody else because Egwene has a secret ter'angreal.
Right, which I have to talk about because I'm a little upset with Egwene.
Okay, why?
For this. Although, okay. I'll get to my notes. I'll get to it.
Who's she gonna tell?
She's gonna tell Swan.
Oh, okay.
Just like probably not in this setting.
Gotcha. Okay, like one in the report back to me type of.
Yeah, I think she's got to tell her.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay.
I hope she does anyway. Okay, so Egwene squeezes the ring in the pouch and thinks that it feels warm.
Ooh.
Which could just be like
coincidence,
but maybe not though. Maybe it tried to melt.
Okay. Or just like was being used. Like because they're in the same room doing something being used together.
Yeah, and so she just says that Alanna shouldn't feel bad and this wasn't her fault. And then to sort of change the subject, Egwene asks Alanna what it means to be Green Ajah.
Yeah,
and that's exciting for me.
So
Yay,
before we get into the Ajah stuff, I gotta settle a couple of things here, just for like my peace of mind for what you're thinking.
Okay.
So Egwene is like super suspicious about literally everybody right now.
Literally everyone. Yeah,
because she's like, Elida probably looked at the stuff, and then Sheriam probably looked at the stuff, and then she's thinking, oh, Alanna is trying to do penance so that she can come and scrub pots in the kitchen with me, so she can keep an
eye on me.
Yeah. So what is Alanna up to? Why is she trying to like get punishment and be close to Egwene?
I think that she just actually feels bad.
She feels bad and is like, I deserve some rap for this?
Yes.
Okay.
Because if Egwene had died in there, I think that it would have been all on her. She would have felt the weight and guilt of it on her.
Like, I should have done something. Yeah. Okay. Well, clearly, and it's also like totally Egwene's fault for bringing the ter'angreal in.
100%. But no one should know that. Yeah.
So really, I think we should pin the blame on the fact that they didn't teach Egwene about the fact that this ter'angreal thing could happen.
Correct. The one rare thing that happened years ago, they should have taught her that?
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely.
There you go, guys.
This is like that whole Moraine, like, how can I tell you everything I know?
Right.
Whose fault?
Exactly really? Like that.
I blame the education system.
Yeah, it's probably fair. Okay, so can we get into the information about the Ajahs now?
Exciting. And you pulled up your previous guesses, right? Your predictions?
I did. We did a bonus episode well over a year ago, or maybe about a year ago.
Yeah.
At this point, where I guessed what the Ajahs all meant.
Yeah. That was fun.
That was fun. Not for me, for everyone else, though.
Yeah. Well, and it's also kind of funny because I think one of our most popular questions you get asked is like, what Ajah do you think you belong to? Yeah, and we don't know. And we kind of get a couple more, like we figure out kind of sort of like 4 Ajahs here, give or take.
Yeah.
But we still don't know.
And one of them is Browns, which we already know.
Yeah. It's like we know brown, we know red.
Yeah.
But we do get some new stuff.
Okay. So to be a green means you have to love men. Love them.
Love them.
Love men.
Makes sense from what we've heard.
Yeah. Warder parties.
Yeah.
Woo!
Now,
we get that browns seek knowledge.
Yep.
And blues meddle in causes.
Yeah.
Now, I had browns as the academics and searching for knowledge, but I think that was one I already knew.
That was in the glossary definition.
And then I also said that blues were secret agents.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think we should give some marks for sure.
I think 75%.
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
Because, like, I don't really know what meddle in causes means.
Yeah.
And, like, how do you have an entire faction of people who just, like, meddle in shit? Like, you have to, like, it's got to be more than just that, right?
Well, it's
like,
a cause. So, like, I mean, let's break it down for even Moraine. Like, we know Moraine's a blue.
Yeah.
So, like, her cause clearly is, like, find the Dragon Reborn. But it's also super secret.
That's secret. So how could she be a blue meddling in a cause that is secret that no one knows about?
That's why I think she should get higher than 75%, because what would a secret agent do?
Exactly.
Lie. They would lie about it.
They would lie about it. So
half-truths. Yeah. Aes Sedai half-truths.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we get that whites consider the questions of truth with implacable logic and have no room for passions in life.
Yeah.
And the only time we've ever had any sort of reference to whites is that they're so cool.
Yeah, they're like cold.
Yeah.
So like level-headed, only logic, no emotion.
Right.
So it kind of falls in line.
I had the whites as women hunters, like recruiters.
Yeah. Nope.
I have a better system for the White Tower than they do.
You do. Because apparently, from what we know so far, they don't have a recruiting system.
Right. So I was wrong there.
Yeah.
And then we have the greens that stand ready, which is so cool. They go into battles, like in the Trolloc Wars. They were the counters to the Dreadlords.
Super cool.
So not the Gardeners.
Not the Gardeners. They are the Battle Ajah.
That's so cool. That's so opposite from, I said like they're like the nature enthusiasts.
Yeah.
I just feel a bit bad for the Greens because they sound so important and they're involved in all the wars, but like all everyone ever talks about is how, you know, their water parties. They're just like the crazy party girls. I'm like, they fight. They're busy. Anyways.
Yeah.
Well, you know, last like big war was like, 20 years ago. So
you
got some downtime.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
They stand ready though.
Yeah. What would you do? What would you do in the last 20 years?
If there was no wars, I guess sex parties, yeah.
That's not true. There have been like wars and stuff.
Yeah.
But like,
all right.
Like only wars against the shadow. Like
that's true.
Anyway, so that's pretty cool. I like greens. That sounds cool to me. That sounds way cooler than the Gardeners. So
yeah,
I'm good with that.
So I mean, a couple things here. So let's say out of the browns, the reds, the blues, the greens, the whites, what would you choose? Put it on the table. Who do you choose?
Well, I love men. So, no, just kidding.
And you're a fighter, so.
Yeah. I would still say probably a mix of like a blue / a green, maybe.
Okay.
Like, I still don't really get the blue thing, but I do like the idea of meddling in causes.
Yeah, I can get that vibe from you.
Yeah, like I want to go like do some stuff, but I don't know if I'm ready to like fight in battles,
Okay. Well, yeah. I think blue would work.
Yeah.
So based on what we've learned and what we saw last chapter, is Egwene going to be green?
Yeah.
Well, here's the problem with like dream prophecies, because she kind of thinks this too. Is like, oh, so is that what I choose? But also, like, if you don't want to be green, just like don't choose green. Then it's not like set in stone here.
I think she has a little bit to learn. Yeah, I think she has a little bit to learn still. I do think that there is an element of future telling in this dream world, if not only for planting the seed.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Right? Like the whole placebo effect almost, sort of.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Well, it's like someone puts a nugget of information like, oh, you might be green in your head. Now you start thinking about being green. So you ask the question about being green. So it's like.
Right. The self-fulfilling prophecy kind of. And then Alana takes an interest in you and wants to help you because you express an interest in green. And then there you go. You're a green.
There you go. Before you know.
All right. So moving on, though, because we got a lot to talk about still. So Swan shows up and asks Egwene if like she's really okay. And then Alana right away asks to take some of Egwene's punishments. And then Swan's like, don't be ridiculous, idiot. There's no way a full Aes Sedai would ever be allowed to like wash dishes.
Yeah.
And she goes, but if you want, you can visit Sheriam in secret if it makes you feel better.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. It's like, oh, it's gonna spoil the reputation of Aes Sedai if you like go.
Don't worry,
pots.
guys. The reputation of Aes Sedai already sucks.
Yeah. You've done a terrible job. We have nobody in like PR working on this.
That's what the White should be doing.
PR.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Egwene has a desire to confess at one point about having this other ter'angreal, and then that feeling just quickly goes away, and she does not tell anybody about anything important right now. Anyway,
at least not yet.
Think that she should. The entire time I was thinking, I don't know if Egwene is going to feel like guilty that Swan's like going to stay up all night and try and figure out what the heck happened here when she knows what happened here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, there's also the whole, like, then it ends up, like, if Egwene does tell Swan, and clearly Varen's, like, kept this ter'angreal hidden with the notes from everybody from her, like, thought process. So it's like, if Egwene tells Swan, and then Swan goes and...
I think if she can trust anyone right now, it's Swan because of what Egwene knows about Swan. It's almost like this reciprocal... We know some stuff about each other that we don't want anyone else to know.
Yeah. Well, the issue is, like, you're on tell everybody everything.
Well,
though, so.
Especially the people who, like, legit can help you.
I'm team tell, too. I'm with you. With you. I like to share. I'm an oversharer generally, so.
So Egwene gets lost in thought about Alana maybe being Black Ajah now, and Swan clears her throat like, hey, you should go to bed. You're sleeping standing up. And then Swan goes back over to the ter'angreal, and Sheriam starts like yelling at Alana, and then tells Egwene to get out and get to bed. So I think that this is like the start of her punishment, her like berating.
No, yeah.
And so Egwene wanders out like a little bit in a daze and heads to Nynaeve's room because she doesn't want to be alone. And Elaine is in there, who has had the same thought. And she has her head on Nynaeve's lap and is crying. And Elaine sees Egwene come in and says, I could not be that awful. And Egwene's like fears and thoughts about all the Black Ajah and the ter'angreal go away. And then she thinks about Rand and her visions of him and starts crying and says, I couldn't help him. I just left him there.
Yeah. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that happens kind of in this like last page.
Yeah.
But like the important bits being like Elaine clearly passed, which is good.
Yeah.
So they're all accepted together now.
Well, yeah. At no point did I think that Elaine was like kicked out of the tower now.
She's gone.
Yeah.
But, you know, you never know. And then Elaine clearly had some like issues in her like vision quest.
Well, it's not an easy test.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Yeah.
It's to fuck you up a little bit, I think.
It's very interesting to kind of like speculate on what she could have like done that was so awful in hers, but we don't really have.
Nah.
We don't got time for that right now. We can talk about it later when it comes up.
Well, and do you guys think so? I don't know if hazing and like sororities and like Frosh Week. And, you know, basically the harder you haze someone, the more committed they'll be to the group later because of what they went through to get into the group. Right? So I think that's part of the reason why this test is so hard, because psychologically now they're all going to be super committed to becoming Aes Sedai because they went through this horrible thing.
Because they paid this price. I've already gone this far.
Yeah.
Well, it's like the whole, like, everybody goes through the exact same experience, which is, like, really why what Nynaeve says at the end is super annoying to me all the time.
We'll make them pay for what they've done to us.
Yeah, it's like literally everybody does the same thing.
They've done it too.
Not saying that it's, like, the best system, because, like, you know, debatable whether this is even important for doing it, but...
That is, like, Nynaeve's MO all the time is just, like, revenge.
Yeah.
Who can I get revenge on today?
But who are you like revenging on, and for what and why, and what are you going to do?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the end of this chapter. And then we're going to get into chapter 24, which is really exciting because I love Beak and Matt's head. I think it's really funny.
Yeah. This is great. We got tons of stuff to talk about for this one.
So we're in the Matt perspective. We got the dice picture, which is very, you know, exciting.
That's like Matt now.
That's Matt now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we get a little bit of a reference to dice. I thought that it was going to be more dice related this chapter.
The chapter? Okay.
Yeah, but no.
It's just kind of like the symbol for Matt.
Yeah, and I mean, like, realistically, I was like, oh, he didn't even gamble. Yeah, he did.
He gambled.
Well, he wagered and yeah. Anyway, okay, so now we switch to Matt. He is waking up after his night of contemplating how to get out of here, and he eats a ton of food again. And then he gets dressed and leaves his room, but not without his dice cups. And so I thought that was like signaling he was going to use them.
Okay.
And we were going to see him
do some gambling. Yeah.
I don't know. Is dice a verb? Go dice.
And roll the die.
Yeah.
Dicing. I think it's dicing.
Dicing. Okay.
Not for vegetables.
To go dicing.
Yeah, that's for vegetables. Dice them up. So he wanders around and finally, like, gets out of the tower. He heads out into the tower grounds and he comes across a guy who is a bridge guard. And Matt starts asking him some questions, thinking he's being, like, super sly, but, like, not so much, I think.
I gotta just kind of do something here because you skipped. You skipped.
Oh, did I skip too much?
You did. Skip too much for me.
All right.
So
what did I skip?
Okay, number one, when Matt goes out, he checks to see if there's, like, guards guarding his room.
Okay, yeah.
And it's kind of funny because, like, Swan already told him what she did to keep him in the tower grounds.
Yeah, he doesn't trust her either, though.
Yeah, but it's also, think back, like, they're Aes Sedai. We already know that they have, like, magical tracing systems to, like, in place to keep tabs on people.
Yeah.
So it's like you don't need a guard to guard the door of Matt when the gate guards,
like
Matt the bridge guards,
doesn't know.
It's just like a funny little take.
Okay.
And then the second point, and maybe Spencer wants to talk about this too, he thinks about Elaine and how pretty she is.
Oh yeah,
I had that in my notes.
Yeah,
he thinks of the girls. Elaine is pretty. That's what my notes say. He thinks of the girls. Elaine is pretty. He decides he won't. They won't turn him in, so he's gonna go say goodbye. He just wants to see her one more time, get a look.
Yeah, why not, right?
Yeah, it's good. Okay, now we can continue.
Okay, now we get to the guy.
Yep.
And Matt thinks he's sly, and he's not.
Yep.
And he's like, I'm just wondering what the conditions are like. Is it muddy? The guy's like, nah, it's good, man. It's fine.
It's pretty bad. He does, like, a terrible job of, like, being subtle.
Yeah. And the guy's like, no, it's okay. He's like, there's just white cloaks being annoying everywhere. And he's like, but there'll be no crossing for you because you're Matrim Cauthon.
Yeah.
And he's like, shoot, they do know me. But this guard is interested in him and why he can't leave. Because he's like, are you some kind of thief? And Matt's like, what? No. But Matt's like, no, they healed me and don't want me to leave until I'm better. And the guard's like, I don't know, you kind of look like a guy who tried to sell me the Horn of Valir a couple days ago. And Matt goes, what? Oh my god, no, I don't know anything about that horn. No, he doesn't say that. But he thinks he does a little... Yeah, he does a little bit of a jump and says, no, I was sick. And he thinks he did it with a level voice, but...
It's such a funny take because it's like a direct callback to, like, when Rand and Loyal and Hurin were in Kyrian with the horn.
Literally with the horn.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, definitely no Horn of Valir under this, not in this chest.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing, we definitely don't have that.
Yeah. I don't think that actually happened.
It happened exactly the way I said it.
So Matt ends up leaving this guy and is all pissed off. And he's like, man, everyone's going to know me and my description. And they think I'm a thief. I'm not. Although he does steal something at the end of this chapter called a quarterstaff.
Oh, well, to be fair.
He totally steals it. But we'll talk about that.
Well, okay. It's a funny take because we know that Matt's like a bit of a scoundrel. He likes to get in trouble. But it's like a nice callback that he thinks about. Like, he's good at slipping into places unseen because he grew up as a kid who got in trouble, and he had a mother who always assumed he was guilty.
Because he was.
Well,
because he was always getting into trouble, and he was always guilty. It's like that whole I flowered the dogs thing.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know why she's so mad at me. And it's like, because you did it?
He for sure did it. But it's like, he doesn't mind, like, he gets blamed for stuff he does, but he doesn't like when he gets blamed for stuff that he didn't do
That's
yet.
fair.
So
Yet.
Like,
he is
he will in the future for sure do things, but it's like he doesn't want to be blamed until it happens.
So that's why he's a good sneaker.
Yeah, he has practice.
He is a sneaker. So off Matt goes, wandering around some more, and then he sees some girl he recognizes and calls out, "Hey, Else Grinwell."
How good is this?
And I went, oh my god, I laughed out loud, actually.
Oh, yeah.
I thought this was so funny. He goes, "Remember me? Remember?
Yeah.
When Buddy and I stayed at your farm?"
Well, okay, also because so he remembers that she had like an eye for the boys, but if our memory serves us correctly, she was
had
more
an
interested
eye
in
for Ren.
for Matt.
Yeah, because Matt was like getting them kicked out of places at
that was
point.
like right in the middle of the whole cursiness.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And so she clearly knows that he was sick and has been healed, and she's like trying to stay away from him. Like, she's got social distancing down.
Definitely.
Yeah. She's like, step off the path so I can walk by on the same path.
So do you think this is because of the way Matt acted when the last time he saw her was, or this because he was sick with something and was in the tower to get healed?
Might be a mix of both.
Okay. So here's a theory too, because like we know Else Grinwell when she was at the farm was like the, loving the boys, the mother. It was the mother or the father. I can't remember. Someone didn't want her anywhere near Rand or something.
Yeah, I think it was the mom, and the dad was like,
I don't know, it's fine. And the mother was like, nope, I know my daughter.
Yeah.
So, and then she's been in the tower as a novice, and we already heard about her, and she's probably been like scrubbing pots for months, and she doesn't kind of seem the person to like want to do that kind of work. So she might have a bad attitude,
Or maybe she spent too much time out in the warders' grounds gawking at the warders and had to scrub pots for it already. And she doesn't want to.
Oh, I like that theory way better.
There you go.
There
okay,
you go.
That one wins.
Yeah, for sure. She's gotten in trouble for being after the warders in training. Yeah. So he's all offended and was like, "What I have isn't catching." And she's like, "Let me by," even though there's tons of room to pass him. So he just like lets her go by and is like, "Fine, stupid bitch." Like, I don't know, like whatever. He moves on and he wanders off and finds the warder training grounds.
Yeah.
Which maybe Else was coming from.
Probably. Right. And maybe he got like sent away.
Yeah.
Could have been. She could be on her way to scrub pots right now.
Ooh.
Mm.
It's like first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
She's already in trouble.
It's like immediately.
Yeah. So it's like we've been told already that the Aes Sedai and Accepted are all sitting around watching Galad.
Yes.
And Matt sits down to watch and finds some stones to juggle, which is like just kind of fun.
Yeah.
He can just like do that and pick that up, so he didn't lose that ability.
Well, Tom said he's got good hands.
All right.
Else Grinwell could have had something there.
So he sees Galad and Gawain, who are like practice fighting together, and he recognizes Gawain as Elaine's brother. And we get some tidbits about how Elaine did a lot of talking on their journey together. And then this just gave me a reminder that the entire winter before Matt like basically passed out about to die, he spent a lot of time with Egwene, Elaine, and Nynaeve.
Yeah. And it wasn't entirely like unconscious.
Yeah, no, he remembers it. And it actually puts a little bit more into perspective for me why he feels the need to say goodbye to Nynaeve and Egwene.
Right.
Okay.
Because I didn't quite get why he was so adamant about that before, other than they grew up together but it makes more sense now because they just did this entire like travel journey to like together.
Yeah.
Right? So
it's kind of weird because in the series you usually hear about like everything.
Yeah.
But, like we didn't hear anything about that trip.
Nothing other than that there were some like people who tried to kill them at one point.
Yeah. But like that's
like
it.
Literally
none of the, like details.
Yeah.
So
Galad and Gawain get a break, and Gawain sees Matt. So they head over to talk to him, and Gawain's like, "You're Matt, right? I recognize you from Egwene and Elaine's descriptions. You were sick. Are you feeling better?"
Yeah.
Like, is he like fact-checking on Elaine and Egwene right now?
Okay.
That's what it seems like.
Here's the thing, probably.
Well, I think too, for a while, Egwene, I don't know how close Egwene and Gawain are right now, because we don't know. We haven't seen those interactions, but they were concerned for a period that Matt might not be healed. So maybe they haven't talked to the girl since Matt's been healed.
Well, no, because the last time we saw Gawain and Galad were when they were in Nynaeve's room.
Yeah.
Oh,
questioning Elaine about where have you been? And then that's when they're like, "Oh, our friend Matt was sick and we went to go get him and bring him back here." And that was their whole excuse for leaving and coming back.
Yeah, their whole cover story was like, Matt's sick, so we brought him back.
Yeah.
And then Elaine wasn't telling the brothers like literally anything, so they are for sure doing like fact checking on like Matt.
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
Anything else.
But still, at that point, Matt hadn't been healed yet, so they're just maybe wondering if it had happened yet.
Yeah. So it's like, so actually he was sick.
Yeah. And then Matt gives like a curt, "I'm fine." You know.
Everybody keeps asking him.
Yeah. And then Galad asks if he's come to learn the sword. Matt's like, "Fuck that." Nah, just kidding. He's like, "No."
He is kind of like that.
Yeah. He is actually.
He'd take a bow or a quarterstaff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then he's also like, after he's like, the sword's not the be all end all. Like, there's other weapons out there, guys.
Yeah. And Galad is like, "Well, if you spend enough time with Nynaeve, you'll need all three. She's the worst."
And how good is that Galad is making jokes?
And even Gawain looks in wonder at Galad and says, "You almost made a joke."
Yeah, there you go.
And then Gawain says to Matt, "You should learn the sword. It'll be useful. And your friend Rand certainly had an interesting sword." And then he goes, "Have you talked to him lately? Have you seen him? Where's that guy?"
Yeah. So Galad and Gawain are about as like sneaky with their questions as
Do you
Matt
think
was
Galad has been like asking them to find out information about Rand?
Who knows? But yeah, they're not casual either. None of these boys are good at like beating around the bush kind of questions. They're all
No, I think they're so sly.
Well, we also know though, like Elaine kind of has a thing for Rand from that like one interaction, because Elaine and Gawain and Rand had that whole experience way back when in Camelin.
Right.
And then I bet that Elaine probably like, talked a little bit with Gawain.
Maybe.
About
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it makes sense that he's like
brothers and sisters talk about that.
Well, we know that Elaine says that Gawain has a thing for Egwene.
Oh, yeah. Won't do anything because Galad has clearly made his intentions known.
Like, I think that they do talk about that stuff.
Okay,
but then Elaine's like, "Oh, you should go after my brother Gawain, not Galad, because he's way better."
And he's way better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
It's a huge like love. It's not a triangle.
No, it's a weird square, except that two of them are brother and sister, so they don't connect.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like a pentagon because also like Rand's in there.
No, that's Rand. Oh, Galad.
Gawain, Egwene, Elaine,
First
Rand.
five, it's a pentagon.
Throw them all in there.
And then Matt'll just sit under the tree and juggle.
Yeah, he doesn't have one.
Watch.
He's gonna chase after Else later.
Okay.
Just give it another go.
Yeah, right. That'll go well. Okay, so Matt thinks, "Oh yeah, that guy," and then like wonders what Gawain knows exactly. Like he's very suspicious of Gawain. Like, "Why are you asking?" kind of thing.
Probably nothing more than it's like my sister's interested in him.
Yeah, maybe actually. And then he says that swords aren't that great. "I could beat both of you with a quarterstaff at once. In fact, I'll bet on it." And then Zac Efron busts out and sings a whole bet on it song.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. No?
But
you like that spin?
Yeah, I liked it.
Okay, good.
I love it.
That's High School Musical 2 for anyone who's
wondering at the country club.
Wants to look that up and watch that music video because it is excellent.
I wonder how big of the
how big our fan base is with.
Well, I was gonna say, what's
Musical?
the Venn diagram of like High School Musical 2
fans?
Like fans to Wheel of Time fans? So like, what's the crossover?
Well, Spencer and I are both here.
3, yeah.
There's at least 2 of you.
There are at least.
I
I probably wouldn't have made that joke if I wasn't looking at Spencer's face right now.
Yeah, probably not. I would have no idea what you're talking about, so.
I thought you were going to bust into song, Spencer.
You're lucky I didn't.
But I gotta say, it's a huge insight into Matt's character here too, about like why he does this. It's such a funny thought process he goes through, because he's like, okay, well maybe it's because I like butchered the questions with the guards. Maybe it's because like I tried to like get Else interested and she shut me down. It's like, but none of those, and he angrily rejects that. And he's like, whatever, I'm just gonna do it because it's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
So
sorry, it's almost like he has a compulsion to gamble. Like it just happens. It just
He like can't even control it. He's just like, oh, right. It's all he has left, basically.
I like, can do it.
Like, and not just like one silver mark, so that he like still has one.
Yeah.
It's like both.
So, but this is an interesting point. You made a really good like kind of like speculation into Matt's character. Mm-hmm. He was kind of a background character for quite a long time, but every time we've seen him, he's doing something about betting. Like way back in Faldara, when Rand was like being mean to Loyal, Matt and Perrin were dicing, but like Matt clearly has this kind of thing. Yeah. So we can kind of assume that that's his thing. Probably when he was traveling with the Shienarans, the whole time he's like dicing. Yeah. So maybe he like has a bit of a,
gambling
inkling.
addiction. You mean?
I don't call it an addiction. I
would
call it an addiction.
An obsession.
And
then yeah.
Well, okay.
However you want to phrase it.
Yeah.
He's a functioning addict, if you ask me.
Although, and even now, like if he had lost his money, like that's interfering with his life.
He's never leaving Tarbellen without those coins.
No, that's true. Okay, so Gawain is like, man, you've been sick. Maybe another time. And Galad is like, well, that wouldn't be a fair wager. Plus, I don't want to make Egwene mad at me.
Yeah, good to know Galad's still interested.
Oh, yes. And Matt keeps going and going and going to the point where they finally say, fine, you're lost, man. And I found this entire thing very predictable. At no point did I think Matt would ever lose this fight.
You're not supposed to think that Matt's going to lose this fight.
Okay, but like, I don't know what I'm not supposed to think and supposed to think.
No, but it's kind of like a funny take because like clearly the boys are rejecting his offer until Hammer steps in.
Oh yeah, and the warder who's training them is like, "Oh, fun, let's do this thing."
But let's talk about that because like all the women are watching Galad and Gawain, and they're clearly like the best of the best out of the trainees here.
Well, and most attractive.
But like they're clearly good. But it's really funny to think about Hammer, who literally is trying to train these two guys who are like way too good. So he is probably rooting for Matt to like beat them.
Well, he does put in.
He bets the money like up front for them because it's like if you won't bet your money, I'll bet on Matt. Because he probably needs someone to put like Galad and Gawain in their place to like get him to
knock him down a couple
pegs. Knock him down, yeah, just a little bit. So like Galad doesn't even recognize that women are interested in him, but he's still annoying. So
I think Galad recognizes.
Well, maybe he only has eyes for Egwene.
That's true.
It's very sweet.
It's something like that. I don't know if sweet's the word, but it is what it is. So Matt goes to get a quarterstaff from the nearest stand, and his knees buckle a little, but he thinks, well, there's no turning back now. I have to win. And then he says, it's time to roll the dice, which sounds like a fun new catchphrase word.
It is. That's a good
like
one.
The Matt catchphrase, I think.
Yeah.
Is it roll or toss the dice?
Time to toss the dice.
Oh, I wrote roll.
It's toss.
Oh, sorry.
Time to toss the dice.
Sorry, guys. Oh, man.
Don't mess that one up.
Everyone's going to come after me.
That's your catchphrase is right.
Sorry. Oh, so I'm so sorry. Okay. So the warder guy, Hammer, says, you speak the old tongue? And Matt just stares at him like, what? And so apparently that phrase he just said, he said out loud, in the old tongue. And
didn't recognize.
And didn't know that he did that.
Keep in mind what happened last chapters with Matt.
Yep.
The whole like
old tongue business.
Flashback memories of like old Manetheren general man.
Uh-huh. And the old Manetheren general man was the one who was known as being a gambler.
Yeah.
So
oh shoot.
Here we go.
Okay.
He probably tossed a few dice in his day.
Probably. So Matt makes sure that they all remember the wager, Like, he isn't doing this for funsies, and he won't be cheated.
Yeah.
Right? And then Galad and Gawain are like, no, man, we won't take your money. And Matt's like, well, I mean to take yours. And the warder's like, I'll cover their wages.
Yeah, so for sure Hammer's rooting.
Not wages. Wagers.
Yeah.
He's very excited for this fight.
Yeah. Yeah, he's looking forward to it.
And then the fight starts, and Galad, like, rushes at Matt, and Matt gets him in the ribs, and Gawain comes at him, and then Matt clips his ankles, and he falls to the ground, and then there's, like, all these fancy spin moves, and...
Yeah. So I didn't take a lot of notes on the fight sequence here, but it's like, it's kind of funny because it's really important to note that Matt is a freaking, like, amazing fighter.
Badass.
Yeah, with the staff. Yeah. Like, he's really good. He's proficient with it, so...
Right, and we actually learned that he's so good with it because his dad is so good with it.
Yeah.
Which is, like, reminiscent of Rand being so good at the bow.
Because Tam
is.
Yeah. So, okay, side little tangent here. So, Two Rivers people are awesome because, like, Beltane competitions
it's
are,
a
like,
big effing deal.
Huge deal. Bow fight, like, you know, bow competitions, the staff fighting, like the wrestling, stuff like that. Like, they're all training to be just badasses, and they're, like, competing with the best of the best.
Yeah.
And they don't even know it.
It's actually kind of crazy because the only time they probably get to showcase their skills are at Beltane.
It's Beltane, so you better show up.
Yeah. And the best of the best, arguably in all of the continent, because they're competing with the warders, are from this little town.
Well, and it's like, we know that Tam's a friggin' badass. Like, he's got a history, so, like, he knows what's up, too. So.
And, like, we watched Rand, like, take down another, like, legit Heron blade master.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? So
what do we think Matt's dad did? What's his background?
Ooh, very interesting, because I did speculate that Tam at one point was a warder.
You did.
Or at least trained with warders.
Yeah.
I don't know. It never crossed my mind about Abel. Abel Cauthon.
Cauthon?
Well, we know they were just at the White Tower, so.
Yeah, they did go together, which I did find interesting.
Yeah.
I speculated, like, in my head that Matt's dad is just a farmer.
Okay.
But he was, like, worried for his son.
Right.
So he, like, went with Tam, and Tam knows his shit.
Yeah.
And Matt's dad knows that Tam knows his shit.
Right.
So he's like, yeah, I'll go with you. Because he, like, went for a long time and came back.
Yeah.
So maybe Matt's dad is so good with the quarterstaff because maybe his dad was so good with the quarterstaff.
Right.
And it might just be like a whole farmer with a quarterstaff thing.
Yeah. Well, there's also a couple things because, like, I've seen online, and it's like, it's a whole speculation of, like, is this fight realistic? Of, like, one guy with a quarterstaff beating two guys with a sword?
I don't know. Let's go back to Kill Bill because...
Let's go back and say... so my stance is yeah. And I just want to put some points out there for why. So, number one, Matt picks a quarterstaff, which is like a foot taller than him.
Yeah.
So, he's probably about 6 feet tall. So, he's got like a 7 foot tall quarterstaff. Reach in a fight is super important. And a quarterstaff being able to, like, poke a little bit further than a sword is, like, really big too. And then also, if you look at their attack strategy between Galad and Gawain, they don't really attack coordinated.
Yeah.
Like, Galad rushes in, and then Gawain comes in, and then Matt just, like, hits him in the head real hard and, like, knocks him out.
Yeah, I do have
So
that.
then it's basically just Matt versus Galad, and he'd already, like, clipped his wrist, so he's already hurting, and they don't have armor on or anything. They got wooden swords. So...
But I also think of Darth Maul in The Phantom Menace. Because he has...
Ooh, yeah.
And he's able to hold
up Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon?
For a while.
Yeah, Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon and Darth Maul.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's, like, also a very famous 2 versus 1, and the 1 kind of won.
Well, he gets chopped in half at the end, but he does...
Yeah, he actually doesn't win.
But he didn't die, turns out. Spoiler alert.
Darth Maul dies.
No, he doesn't.
What? Yes, he does.
Does not. Star Wars fans can back me up on that. It might be like, I don't know, because in one of the new movie flashbacks, like, Darth Maul's totally alive again.
Oh, but he got cut in half.
Yeah, he didn't die apparently.
Okay.
That's what I've seen. Like, in one of the trailers for, like, one of the new
Spencer and I are just,
Star
like,
Wars.
staring at you like, what are you talking about?
In one of the new Star Wars, Darth Maul is back.
We need a fact checker. I
I know barely anything about Star Wars, but I'm pretty sure, like,
that's
it was
why
after...
we're like, no, Brett.
I thought you were talking about maybe like the whole Qui-Gon thing, because Qui-Gon doesn't survive, but then comes back as a Force ghost.
No, I'm pretty sure it was like after the Solo movie, they brought back Darth Maul.
Okay, listen.
Might be a Disney.
Thought dead, Darth Maul survived his injuries by focusing on his hatred of Obi-Wan Kenobi, the Jedi who cut him in half. His shattered body was dumped amid the refuse of the junk planet Lotho Minor, where the once deadly warrior fell into madness, staying alive on a diet of vermin.
Boom.
So then did he get some robot legs or like...
I don't know. I have no follow-up to that, but I was pretty sure he didn't die.
Okay.
Disney brought him back because they can totally make a little bit more money.
Okay.
So hey, there you go.
So you're right.
Can we move on? Okay. Cool. That was so weird. Good fact-checking, Spence. Okay, so I actually have like a point to make here, because when Gawain gets like smoked in the head and like crumples to the ground, the Aes Sedai all rush over to heal him.
Yeah.
Which I found interesting. So it's like still the middle of the fight, sort of, except I guess he wasn't getting up.
No.
So
he's got brain damage.
Right. But then at that point, Galad actually begins to take Matt seriously and like tries harder. And this entire scene reminds me of when Rand fought Lord Turak.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Huge. That's a great...
Because Lord Turak wasn't really taking Rand seriously.
Yeah.
And Rand like wasn't really doing very well. Like he was doing okay, but then he like sort of got this rush of, I have to win. And that's exactly what Matt gets right now, where he sort of like lunges at Galad and they're like fighting, and Galad is 100% on the defense while Matt is making all the moves, and he starts to feel really hungry again, starts to feel really weak, and he's like, man, I have to end this now. And that's exactly what Rand thought when he was fighting Lord Turak.
Yeah.
He was like, this has to end. I have to do this now.
Now or I die. So, like, great comparison. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, at that point, it's kind of too late for Galad because now it's 1-on-1. It's not 2-on-1.
Yeah. So Matt sort of gets Galad in the knee, wrist, ribs, and thrusts into his stomach, and Galad like collapses. And then Matt's like staff quivers at the point of Galad's throat.
Yeah, he goes for the killing blow.
Yeah.
But then he like stops himself and he's like, man, win, not kill. What's wrong with me?
Whoops.
Right? And that's definitely that whole past life
like shining
battle
through a little bit.
guy coming out, I think.
He's like, we gotta win.
Yeah. We gotta kill.
We gotta kill to win, yeah. So well, at least he didn't kill Galad, right?
It would be, yeah. I feel like Galad will have some interesting plot points in the rest of the book. So, like, if he died now, that'd probably be bad.
Yeah, that'd be a bad look. So
real bad.
Yeah.
Especially because the Aes Sedai right now are no fans of Matt for even just taking him down.
Oh, yeah. Which is also hilarious because they just, like you got to imagine it's a bunch of greens there, too. So.
Wow. So then this is where Hammer steps over beside Galad and asks all of the guys in training who have like basically stopped to watch this fight, and he goes, who was the greatest blades master? And they all say some guy named Jerome.
Yep.
And he was defeated once by a farmer with a quarterstaff. Remember that. And so Matt is super weak and sort of slides to his knees and uses the staff as support, and Gawain is up and healed by now and comes over to Matt, and Matt sort of stands up. Like, he doesn't want to let them know how shitty he feels.
Yeah.
And so at this point, Gawain gives him like his silver marks and he makes good on the bet and says that Matt is good with that. And Matt says, yeah, my dad's better. He wins almost every Beltane. Well, except for sometimes when Tam wins.
Yeah. So that's what I'm talking about. Like, Beltane is like a stiff competition.
Yeah.
Like, there's serious contenders.
Yeah. And then Matt sees all the Aes Sedai who've rushed over to heal Galad. And Matt says, well, I must have really hurt him. And Gawain's like, well, he's probably fine. But those Aes Sedai won't give up the chance to touch him.
look, there's 4 greens over there. And Matt does not get this reference.
No.
He doesn't understand anything about the tower, I guess, or anything about Ajah's. And...
Yeah, well, why would he? He's an outsider. They're not going to like share information.
He's like you a book and a half ago.
Yeah, true. So Hammer comes over and is like, here's Galad's part of the wager. I'll collect from him when he's less busy with those Aes Sedai. Where are you from? And Matt says, Manetheren.
Oh, no.
And then he goes, I mean, 2 Rivers. I've been hearing some old stories.
Maybe in his own head.
Good cover, Matt. Nailed it.
Yeah, and then he goes, I think I'll be going now. My planet needs me. Then, no, then he goes, he's like, I'm super hungry. Oh, I'm going to go get something to eat. But like,
see ya.
The morning bell hasn't even rung yet. So
it's all very weird, and Hammer's probably very confused about this.
Yeah, and then he just like walks away. He keeps the quarterstaff because no one told him to put it back. And it's like, oh, I just walked out of the grocery store with these food items because no one told me to put them back. Like, it's just, I don't know.
So this was this whole stealing reference.
Yeah, that's just stealing.
Yeah.
It's just stealing. He just stole it.
He kind of deserves it though, because it's like,
because he won with it. That's not how it works.
I would bet if he asked, Hammer would totally let him, because like,
well, then he should have asked, and then it wouldn't be stealing.
Okay, maybe. But it's funny because like Hammer clearly needed someone to like put Galad and Gawain in place.
Yeah.
And like sickly old Matt wanders up, beats him 2-on-1 in a fight, and then just like leaves.
With the stick.
And I'm sure he doesn't care about that.
Yeah. Anyway, I just thought I'd make a point that he stole it.
Stealing is bad.
Okay. So he thinks about how weird like the things are that happened to him. Like talking in the old tongue and saying Manetheren is where he's from. And then he thinks, I gotta get out of here. But how?
Yeah, so that's
it. That's the end of these chapters.
That's the big question.
Yep.
How does Matt leave? What's the exit strategy?
I already told you he's gotta go through the ways.
Right.
And I've been thinking about this.
I forgot you said that.
I've been thinking about this because if he goes through the ways, even if he can't read the stones, he can just like
roll the dice.
Around in there until he finds the white line that leads him out.
So you just want him to wander the ways, until he finds an exit.
And then the first one that he sees, he can just leave because it doesn't matter to him where he goes. He just has to get out of Tarvalin.
And then like the pattern's gonna like.
No, I'm with Danielle, but I think he needs to go every time he reaches like a fork in the road. He takes a dice, odds one way, evens the other, and he just rolls.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ooh, yeah.
There
Toss
you go.
the dice.
Toss the dice. Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
That's a crazy prediction.
I think it's the most logical.
You know, for someone who is like so opposed to the ways previously.
If they're there and it's a convenient method of travel, then we should be using them.
Okay, that's a different stance.
I don't like them when it's just like, oh, it's so convenient to use them. And then when it's convenient to use them again, we don't use them. Like, we've got to something here.
But none of the characters have your knowledge that the Black Wind is chasing Rand. That's the problem. They don't know that.
That is the problem. Yeah.
Matt was there for that.
He probably, but like whether he was set together.
Yeah.
And he traveled with like Egwene and Nynaeve, who and Elaine, who just traveled the ways and didn't see the Black Wind. They might have chatted about it.
So we need Matt to meet up with Egwene and Nynaeve and Elaine.
Well, they might have already talked about it though.
Possibly. I was just saying but to leave via the ways.
Because he's got to know where
to go,
the grove is, and everything.
And like they've been there, they know. So like we got to see that interaction, then maybe he can like leave.
And okay. Just wait, one more question about this. The grove is within the city proper?
Yeah. It is, because I saw that on the fancy Tarvalin map.
Okay,
yes.
Just making sure.
Yeah, that's why I have that idea, because you don't have to leave over a bridge or
by boat. Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Seems like the only way.
It's literally it.
Yep.
The only way.
Or he'll pay someone off.
That's like the way less exciting. It's like, here's 10 gold, I guess.
Yeah. Or maybe he'll like disguise himself.
Ooh, like fake nose. You know, eyebrows, put a wig on, a coat.
Novice white.
Yeah. And a wig.
There you go.
Yeah. No, I don't know, but he's got to get out of here. And I'm really excited to read on because I actually don't know where we're going to go from this point.
Yeah. We're kind of like in a weird middle ground where it's like anything could happen.
At this point, yeah.
You know,
I really would love to get back to Rand and him killing dogs.
I was just going to say that because it's really funny because the Dragon Reborn, the book, like we're almost halfway through the book
and we have got, no like, Rand perspective.
We've got like a chapter and a half or something like that.
Yeah. Like barely anything.
Yeah, barely anything at all of Rand.
But I like the girls.
Yeah.
They're my favorite.
I know you do. I like everything that they're going through right now.
Mm-hmm. It's exciting.
Because before, before they got to Falma, it was a little bit dull.
Yeah.
With them being at the White Tower and stuff. But now, like, ever since Falma with these...
Yeah, it's fun. And now...
Women, like, they are really going through so much.
Right.
Well, and they're all officially accepted.
And they have their studies and they have to hunt the Black Ajah. They're busy.
Man, they got stuff to do.
Yeah.
But you know who else has a whole checklist of stuff? The Dragon Reborn.
Also that.
He's got a lot of prophecies to fulfill.
Yeah, he's got to get stuff done.
He's really gotta. So we'll see. I hope that we get back to him soon.
Fingers crossed.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for joining us, Spencer.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been magnificent.
Magnificent. Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
And the internet cooperated.
Yep.
I'm excited because if this can be a thing.
Yeah, it'll be a little bit easier to keep doing this.
Yeah, I like getting your, someone else's perspective.
It's fun. It's really
great. Fun. So thanks again. And I think that I can officially say that this is part of the pattern now.
Yeah, it's part of the pattern.
It's part of the pattern now.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. The Wheel Weaves is hosted by Dani and Brett, edited by Dani, produced by Dani and Brett with Vince Lewick, Scott Williams, Passion Socks, Mozyme, Michelle O'Brien, Derek Benton, Benjamin, and Derek Schluter, with music by Audionautics.com. If you'd like bonus content, like bonus episodes, outtakes, Q&As, more fun Wheel of Time talk, early access, cool stickers and keychains, and also to support us making great content, visit us at patreon.com/thewheelweavespodcast. Don't forget to check us out on Instagram and Twitter at The Wheel Weaves Podcast. We love interacting with our listeners. Plus, don't forget to rate, subscribe, and tell a friend about us because referrals really are the best compliment. We'd really love for you to come over and join our Discord channel for some spoiler or spoiler-free discussions. You can find the links at our Twitter page as well as on our Patreon page. Thanks again for tuning in because this really is part of the pattern now.